The last concept that I want to discuss with you is dealing with kind of the email mental game. What I mean by that is that it's so easy to become overwhelmed with email that it can become a burden to you as a professional working through your school day. And so, some strategies related to that. First and foremost, go back and all of the technical suggestions I made to you, learning about the email tools available to you to organize your email, using text expansion to make responses quicker, ways to re-engage with your email to make it a more efficient process. Those are all apply here, right? We want you to be an efficient processor of this professional communication. However, there are some other broad strategies I want you to keep in mind. For example, there's a concept that's called mind like water, and it's actually something I borrowed from this guy. This is David Allen. He's a productivity guru, and I've actually taken a lot of classroom tips from him. He has a really great book called Getting Things Done, and there's a link below here that you can buy this book. And the older editions, which are just as good as the new editions, cost literally $1 or 50 cents on Amazon plus shipping. And so you can buy this book for next to nothing. And it really does give an idea of creating workflows. And workflows is something Mike and I are going to talk about in greater detail later in the semester. But the notion behind workflows is that you should be able to create an efficient way to process information over and over again. And as a teacher, you're going to be doing this a lot, whether it's grading or dealing with progress reports or dealing with the paperwork that comes along with teaching. But I wanted to talk about this notion of mind like water. And what David Allen says is that everything should get just about as much of attention as a rock would get when you splash a rock into water, right? This reverberation from the rock, and then after a moment it calms down again, and then you move on with your day. That's exceptionally tough in a classroom because the classroom is an emotional experience, right? You're engaged with students all day long, and these students are human creatures that have their own individual picadillos that can sometimes be elating and sometimes can be downright annoying. And so this notion of giving everything its proper deference is really important. But David Allen has a great rule that I think is a pretty good one, and that's the 2-minute rule, which means if you can get done with something in 2 minutes, you should just do it now and get it out of the way. Now, obviously, that's something that is up to interpretation, right? Like if I get a really emotionally laden email from a student or a parent or a colleague or my boss, then I want to spend time being smart about responding to that. But if you have a simple transactional email, or if a parent would like to know what a student's current grade is and you can get it done in under 2 minutes, then go ahead and do so, and maybe even create a text expansion script that says, hey, quick email back, I want to answer your question quickly. Your son's current grade is a 77%. Let me know if you have any specific questions. That'd be ways to again mind that 2-minute rule. But I also think on the other end of that spectrum that you should be mindful of the fact that you shouldn't let email disrupt times that you should otherwise not be paying attention to work. And so as an example of this, I'm a strong believer, going back to our digital distraction discussion, that you should turn off smartphone email notifications. And this is something that I've started doing personally for the last 3 years. I don't ever get a notification on my phone related to email. There's an exception to that. I have something set up to where if my email or my boss emails me, I get a little notification. But other than that, I just turn them off. And the reason why is because I don't want to be tempted at 9 o'clock at night to check my email. I don't want to find out when a parent has emailed me at 1 o'clock in the morning significantly concerned about something, because frankly, I prefer to be at home and stay at home and stay focused on my home and my family. And more importantly, there's nothing I could do at 1 a.m. to productively answer a 1 a.m. email. And you have to think about the motivations when you get an email late at night, early in the morning. There's nothing you can do to productively respond to that email in a way that's professional and kind of carries a conversation along. So I don't want to know about it. From 8 p.m. at night to 7 a.m. in the morning, I don't really want to deal with email. And I figure if the building's burning down or servers are down, I have other ways of finding that out. I do not check my email, and I turn off completely my mail notifications on my phone. And so that's something to be very mindful of. I also think that email is like any other distraction. If you have a little ding on in the background when you get new email, that can be very distracting from your work. And so definitely consider that there are times in the day when you're doing critical tasks, including teaching, when your email should be off, that you shouldn't be paying attention to what's going on in the screen. I think that is an important part of this process as well. But if you're distracted by email and you turn it off, well, you have to go back to that email eventually. And I have one last strategy that I want you to consider, and that's a kind of famous strategy from early in the internet days called inbox zero. And the idea is that you take times during the day, whether it's the first 30 minutes or 10 minutes at lunch or half an hour after school, that you go through and process all of your email. You go from the top to the bottom of the box and process each one through. Now, you can utilize tech tools like Boomerang that I talked about earlier to maybe have an email reappear a couple of days later. It doesn't matter how you do this, but the idea is that you get through and you answer all of your emails so that you can have a zero inbox, you have no pending emails to deal with, and then you can leave for the day and know that everything is dealt with. Or you can process all the email and know that you're up with all the notifications or all the important things the school or parents or your students are sending you. And there's actually a long process behind Inbox Zero. There's a great website that's somewhat dated now. It's called 43 Folders. There's a productivity guru named Merlin Mann that deals with things, and he has great ideas that I think would be very useful to a classroom teacher that's trying to stay organized, not just physically organized in their space, but kind of mentally organized as they're approaching tasks. But they talk about Inbox Zero at 43 Folders. And so again, a very recommended strategy for dealing with the email menace, as I've called it before. And most importantly, approach email with the deference it deserves. It's an important part of your communication strategy. It is a tool you'll need to come to terms with in the classroom. And no matter what social media technology the day happens to be taking over, it's likely not to replace this critical communication, which happens literally billions of times an hour. So again, email can be a great part of your communication strategy if you treat it with the respect that it deserves.